Right, the Indash here, this is how I mounted the vents. You place the vent, on the back where you like. Once you place the vent down, there's going to be spots where it touches or comes close to touching, wherever. So pretty much you just take the putty and make sure you take it, make sure you mix it together correctly so that way it'll dry properly. And make sure you use gloves because you don't want the putty on your fingers. You kind of smudge it into the crack. And once you smudge it in, make sure everything seems okay. Make sure there's a good enough gap right here. It doesn't have to be a massive gap, but something, at least a few centimeters at least, or almost not a quarter inch, but maybe 1/6 of an inch. And just find good spots. This is not the same as yours. This is my prototype, so it's going to be a little different looking, but just mount it up. You can use putty and adhere the top of this to the bottom of this here. And as for single DIN radio, they're all the same size. And prior to me selling you the current Indash, I was using it as a trial run in my car, and this radio fit perfectly into it. So with this radio, make sure you take off that plastic bezel going around it. You shouldn't have had to trim anything because this radio went into it perfectly. So you place the radio in, and then you put that plastic bezel back on top of this. My guessing is you probably were trying to put the radio in with the plastic bezel on it. Make sure you take that off, because every one of these I've test tried, and this is fit perfectly into it. And as for the brackets, so you get these brackets here. So these brackets bend. They bend pretty easily. What you want to do is, on this portion, on the side of this radio, there's a bunch of holes. And I haven't had any issues whatsoever. I placed it either on this hole or one of these other holes. Find a hole that that comes the closest. Screw it into there. And once you screw it in, you find a spot. So you go ahead and bend it a little bit, and then when you stick it into your Indash, there's going to be holes on the sides where your factory radio were mounted, and you just screw, make sure you bend this down and out the way. That's very bendable. It's pretty easy. I'm sure you have good common sense. Figure out which hole you want where your stock radio mounted into, and then just screw it in. And once you screw it in, make sure you bend this outward just enough so that when you put this on, there's plenty of clearance for you to push it in. And it shouldn't be too much of it shouldn't protrude as much. It should just protrude a little bit, depending on how you mount your bracket. And of course, if it's sticking out too much, or if it's not sticking out enough, simple. Instead of screwing into that hole, slide this back and screw it in through there. And if you screw it in like this, push it forward a little bit more to make it protrude more, make it protrude less, make it protrude even more or less. And if you need to drill a hole, if it protrudes way too much for some odd reason, if you don't have a hole back here, this far back, then go ahead and drill a little hole. This is pretty straightforward. It shouldn't be too much of a big deal. If you're having difficulties, send me a video and show me where you're having difficulties at. I might be able to point you in the right direction, but all in all, it's not too bad. I've had 4 other people install this without any issue. The only issue I'm not surprised that you're having is with the vent. I don't like sending customers, products that aren't completely assembled, so it sucks that you have to take on the task of mounting the vent, but everybody has different requests, so I honored your request, and hopefully you'll be able to get it together. If you need a link to the putty, it's just JB Weld, plastic weld, putty. It comes in a plastic cylindrical tube. It's blue in color with a white center, and when you pluck it off, it's like tack. And you mix it together with your fingers and apply it on. Leave me some feedback if you're having issues still. Alright, this is Travis with Custom Indash. Thank you for purchasing.